I stuck to it and I did it, and I went to this first event and I was super triggered, and it was really impactful for me to just deal with this. Like, this is me.
So for me, I viewed it as an additional challenge. There's someone here that I'm attracted to. Great, this is a challenge. Not, oh great, I found someone I'm attracted to. It was more of, this could be difficult. And I think like another, like speaking in terms of vulnerability, this would be a cool episode. And I don't know if we have a specific plan for this, but you and I went to an event yesterday that was extremely vulnerable and intimate, literally called an intimacy event for men and women. It was held at Kuya, that health and wellness spot here in Austin, which we really like. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. It was your second time going. So you gave me a little bit like lay of the land, not too much info. You're like, hey, this would be a cool event. You should come. I had a great time. All right, let's check it out. And we go, and of course, it's definitely what I had in mind. It is a very intimate, a combination of a men's and women's circle in one. I think this time there's less women.
Yeah,
it felt very heavy.
Yeah. A lot of men.
Yeah. Heavy. Nope. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing is wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
But yeah, heavy on the men's side and nice to connect. And so basically the goal of this group, and I think there was one facilitator. Usually there's a few. So
there's a man and a woman, so it's balanced. More.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like usually it's a bit more balanced, but still, it was really an interesting time. And he ran us through essentially 4 phases of different intimate or connection experiences. Is like one big group, and where we'd split up into partners, like either 1-on-1 or some groups had 3, but most of it was 1-on-1. And most of it centered around eye gazing. And eye contact.
My favorite.
Yeah, our favorite. And so now we can practice more today too. So it's really neat. It's really interesting. We had like progressive difficulties in terms of what was expected in these 1-on-1 sessions. Every session started the same, which is like staring into each other's left eyeball. And I think left for the reason of the fact that it connects to the right side of your brain, essentially, and more into your subconscious brain. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Honestly. My left eye is the eye that I'm very conscious about. So for me, it's extra triggering. Look at this person's left eye, and I'm like, oh shit.
Not that eye.
Yeah, the other eye.
Yeah. But yeah, I think because the left eye, in his terms, is like connects to the right side of the brain, which is true. Like anything in your left side of your brain, left side of your body connects to the opposite side of the brain. That's how it works. And the right side's more creative. It's more receptive. It's more willing to receive suggestions, and it's also why it works a lot during hypnosis. And so yeah, it was just a really interesting experience in terms of increasing levels of difficulty. And so what we would do is there was about 4 different rounds of partners. And the first round of partners, where you stare into the left eye, we asked questions like, I think the first one was focused strictly on relationships. So you would ask about, where are some of your weaknesses or areas of improvement in relationships and past relationships? What are some areas of strength, some things that you like about yourself in relationships, some things that you bring to the table in relationships? It's progressed on from there. There were different levels. We'll go into depth and like what happened for each of us during each of these episodes, if you will. There's 4 of them, 4 rounds. The second round was really focused on, let's see if I can remember this. Second round was what you love and what you hate about being in that female or male body. So if you're a female body, what do you love about it? What do you hate about it? And if you're a male body, what do you love about it? What do you hate about it? And keep in mind, this is all while sharing this eye contact. And this is for minutes. I don't know exactly how long. It's at least for 90 seconds. And that's what's interesting about this, like his argument. And then we had a neuroscientist in the room who backed a lot of this up. But this eye gazing, this eye contact, staring someone's eyes for at least 90 seconds releases a significant amount of oxytocin into the body, which is like the feel-good connection hormone.
Did you feel that?
I felt it. Let's keep talking about these phases, because it hit me differently as we went through the different phases. So the third one was, what was the third one? It was, this was the one where we connected about we elevated our intention. So you started staring into the eye gazing, staring to the eye. Then you started to relate on like your body. So first you had to create the connection with the eyes. The second level was to be aware of your body language. Like, how, are you closed? Are you open? Are your hands clasped? What are you signaling to your partner? Are you signaling safety? Are you signaling connection? Or are you signaling like distance and protection? So that was really interesting because most of us, when we start, we're like, there's some closure there, some defenseness, some like protection. And then when he says that, you're like, oh, shoot, okay. Yes, I definitely should be opening up.
And for the woman, it's, do I open up do I get comfortable with my legs? Right. And there's like, okay, wait, there's sexual connotation here. Let's not do that. So it was interesting, for sure. It was like, you know, what does open mean right now for me as a woman here?
Yeah, I love it. We'll deep dive this stuff. You're right. And then the third part of that third round was the breathing. So then you'd match how the other partner's breathing. You try to get on the same page and signal kind of safety that way. And the fourth last round was about focusing on the masculine and feminine energy. So on the one hand, it was what we call like the radiance of heart, is the more divine feminine energy. And so like just what you're projecting in terms of your emotional space. And then what was the other term? Like the sword or backbone?
Something about spine.
Yeah, sword of the spine, I think was the term. Something like that, which is the more divine masculine energy on projecting strength and whatever. So you would work with your next partner, the fourth partner, on what they wanted feedback on. So as they sat in front of you, you still eye gazing this whole time, making that new connection, which is exciting and strange and all the things in its own right. And then you'd say, hey, would you like feedback? You had to choose. Would you like feedback either on being more radiant from the heart or having more sword from the spine, like either divine feminine or divine masculine? That they would tell you, hey, give me feedback on this. And then you'd provide them with that feedback. You'd say, if you did this, and if you changed your body in this way or you moved in this way, then I would feel more of this from you. In order for me to feel more radiance from your heart, I would need you to do this, and I would need you to move your body and do something. So that was a really neat experience. And then we ended just in a circle. And yeah, really neat, really cool experience. And you have any general stuff before we go into each of these rounds?
No.
Okay.
I just want to
get into it. Yeah. Get into it.
Yeah, how was it for you? Like, how did you feel when you entered the space and when you saw, I think his name is Michael, right. And then the energy, the vibes, what was happening for you?
Yeah, it was initially, anytime you get into these spaces, especially like emotionally very vulnerable, authentic spaces, sometimes you just don't know what to expect. And I think that the not knowing what to expect generally can be anxiety inducing for people and can be difficult. But the combination of that and also having to get like super deep and authentic and emotional with strangers can also be a significant challenge. Yeah, I think anytime you enter that space, just generally, it's gonna be a challenge. But I was looking forward to it. I was excited. Again, didn't know what to expect. I was looking forward to meeting people, women especially. And it's always fun meeting guys, like in a guys group, and there's a couple men's groups. And I've done a lot of this work so far in a men's space, and I know for me personally, like that's where I need to do a lot of work, because there is a safety that I'm still learning to build with men. I think I grew up with a feeling unsafe relatively in men environments. So for me, a lot of my healing has been in those spaces. So I was excited getting into a mixed co-ed space doing that. And it brings up other things too, right? Because you're trying to manage like what kind of energy is there? Is there friendly energy? Is there sexual energy? Is there like, how do I manage this space? I don't want it to be sexual necessarily, but there's also like biological things that come up. You're trying to manage this whole process that comes with other challenges, right? Because if you're attracted, let's say you're attracted to the opposite sex and you're trying to sit there, focus on these internal things and work through this space, and you get feelings come up, it's almost like these are opportunities to get you out of the present moment. And there are things that take your brain, take your body elsewhere than where you're currently at. So for me, I viewed it as an additional challenge. Okay, if there's someone here that I'm attracted to, great. This is a challenge. Not, oh, great, I found someone I'm attracted to. Although I guess I could have looked at it that way. It was more of this could be difficult.
Yeah, interesting that it's difficult because there's an attraction. Like, yeah. So at some point of the evening, me and you were sitting across from each other. How was that for you? What was your experience? Because I can say on my hand, I felt... You want me to share first what I felt?
Yeah, totally.
So I have a problem with eye contact. It's been following me around my entire life because I have this eye problem and I'm super conscious about it. And I'm sure everyone can see it right away, but I keep getting gaslit that everyone's telling me, no, we can't notice it. But I notice it and I know you're noticing it, so why do this game? And so when I went to the first event, I had no idea there was gonna be eye gazing, and my entire thing was, okay, I'm gonna go alone. I'm gonna challenge myself to just be brave, right? Just expose myself, go alone, go to these events alone, go meet people. I say that I'm lonely, right? So this is the way out. This is what I need to do right now to deal with what's happening, right? Make change in life. So I went there alone, and then there was eye gazing, and I found myself in trouble because this is the one thing that I never do. Like even if I have a boyfriend, like even if we're together, there's very little eye contact, and it was never a thing. Like it was just the way I was and how I showed up, and like my ex never said anything about it, and it was just something that I do. I would look you in the eye, but I would look away. It's gonna be like that. And I remember your experience with me was like, hey, we don't have enough eye contact. Like you don't create enough eye contact. Anyway, going to this event, doing the eye gazing, it brought up so much for me. Like I couldn't with a straight face look at someone's eyes for more than 10 seconds without looking away. And it brought a lot of triggers for me, and it got me really emotional, and I started crying in front of these strange men that some of them were really attractive. This is exposure level 10 for me, but I stuck to it and I did it, and I went to this first event and I was super triggered, and it was really impactful for me to just deal with this. This is me. I have this eye problem. There's nothing I can do to change it. Why do I need to look away? Why can't I look at someone's eyes? Just, this is me. It is what it is. This is me. And just accept it. Anyway, the second event yesterday, it was, no kidding, 50% easier to do this. 50% easier to eye gaze. But then I sat with you, and I noticed that it's harder for me to eye gaze with you because I know you. And because being rejected by you, or just rejected, it can even be like a specific look, a laugh, like that, will hurt more than it will with a stranger. So I found it actually easier to look in a stranger's eyes than to look in your eyes. And it was really surprising. So that was my experience, and I really sat with it, and it was super hard, and I started tearing up at some point. And then I shared with you what I feel. I told you, like, I feel tears. I shared what's happening for me, and that's it. That was my experience. What was yours?
No, I'm really proud of you. I know I think if you feel comfortable too, because you say I've got this eye problem, which I don't even love that terminology, to be frank. You've got something with your eye. If you want to talk about it, more about it, I think that would be cool. But obviously you have something with your eye that you're sensitive about. And like you said, to go to this thing was exposure level 10 or 100, whatever, 100%. So just something to be really proud of. It's like fighting the beast, if you will, or like entering the cave. That's a Joseph Campbell quote, right? The treasure we seek the most is in the cave we fear to enter the most. And I'm just really proud of you for doing that. And knowing going into this that it was going to take this kind of bravery, that's really cool. So not a lot of people do that. And yeah, I love to share more of my experience. I want to hear more about yours, like the other rounds too, and just generally your takeaways. I also know you got a couple of phone numbers, so you got some guys that were interested in you, which is great. We should talk more about dating too in this episode, because I think it's also meant for that. The point was to strengthen your intimacy in relationships with other people, and people who go to these types of meetings, a lot of them are single and looking for people. There are a lot of partnered. You had a couple friends show up as partners. There were, I think, maybe 2 or 3 other couples that came for the night, something like that. But yeah, that does add a whole nother spin. My experience generally, so there were 4 rounds.
Wait.
Just with you?
Yes, just with me. Yeah.
Cool.
I loved how you just skipped above that question.
I can't wait to talk about all the rounds. But for us, it's interesting you say that, because I feel like my experience with you was the opposite, honestly, for me. I felt so like calm and safe and secure. I was coming off of the first round, which was basically the first time I've done something like this. And okay, I won't get into all of it, but my experience generally in the eye gazing, and like even as we're talking right now, one of the things that I notice I do is as I'm thinking, I kind of need to look away because it's hard for me to focus. If I'm looking at you, that like I'm focusing only on you. So then if I have to think about something to say, then I like need some space. Like my eyes like, wait, I need to not focus on this so that I can think of this concept. So I noticed myself in the first round doing that a lot. First of all, it was uncomfortable. Second, like I had to keep thinking of an answer to the question, and it was hard for me to do both. In the second round, I feel like I didn't really need to think. I felt like safe, I think, and I felt secure. I felt like because I know you, because I trust you, because we have a relationship, a rapport built, it's okay. I can just answer and not worry about thinking, just like straight from the heart. And I think that's part of it. I think so. It's like a two-part answer. One is I feel like I didn't have to think. I felt safe. I actually felt the most calm I felt all night. Really, like I just got dropped into this out-of-body experience. I was like, so I think my heart. I'll check my Whoop, but like my heart rate totally dropped. I was so calm, and I probably looked calm. I don't know if that's how it came across.
You smiled a lot.
I was smiling. I was happy. I was calm.
Yeah.
So I think that's part one. I think part two also of that answer and like our round together is that I think that this could apply to a lot of men and women doing this thing together, but I really do think there's something biologically, because I also met with another woman later and she also started crying, because I don't know, maybe that's also a consistent thing with me. I just make women cry or they feel safe enough to do that around me. Yeah, but our round, when that happened, I think this happens too with a lot of men and women, is I notice when the emotion starts coming out of either one of us, it's like for me, feel a lot safer dropping into my masculine, into my divine masculine.
When
like,
you see vulnerability from a woman?
Correct. Yeah, I just drop into this place of, okay, now I'm here to, now I, like the game has changed. The game has changed. Now the game is, okay, you need to feel safe. This is a safe container. This needs to be a safe space. I'm here for you. Everything's okay. I genuinely want that person to feel better. There is a part of me that hopes that person gets out of that space. So yeah, you can comment on like, how healthy is that? Like, it's good to just stay in this space and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I generally have a desire for this person to feel good. So what can I do to do that? But it's without thinking. It's like a subconscious thing. Okay, this person's feeling this way. Let me be that concrete, the masculine container for her. Yes. So I noticed that with you. I noticed that with her. I just think also biologically it happens for a lot of men and women. Not every man, but I think men that maybe are more in their divine masculine. If you can connect with that. And one of the prompts when we began, Michael was like, the leader, he goes, listen, how cool would it be if you can have your divine masculine or divine feminine in either male or female body show up today? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm not feeling great. My nervous system's all whack. My mind, my headspace all over the place. But I felt like with you, especially, I really just dropped into that place. I'm grateful that you provided that for me. Just like feeling, oof, I can be here for her. I can feel like so safe and so calm. I know that for you, it was maybe not the most comfortable experience, because also for you, this is really challenging yourself. Yeah, and you find out about yourself that maybe that intimacy level, and that's what we did for each other, right? You provided me that space for divine masculine, and hopefully I provided for you the space of like understanding, like this is a major trigger, as being vulnerable, opening yourself up to someone that you know that you feel like you could be hurt by, and realizing that I would suggest at the end of the day, like I don't have that power. Like you're the only one that has that power to manage that feeling for yourself and to not feel like rejected by others, and what other people think, say, and do ultimately shouldn't have any control over you. But also that's a learning and a part of self-awareness. So I think you grew in that yesterday a little bit.
Sure did. Yeah. Just for me, just being able to look you in the eyes and express, hey, I have tears coming up. I feel super vulnerable. It's really hard for me to do this with you because I'm scared of rejection. For me, that's a win. That's me speaking up for me and being real. And yeah, when you smiled, I had a part taking it to that place. Like, why is he smiling? Is he judging me right now? But I know you, and I did feel safe because I know you. And I know, okay, it has extra vulnerability here because I know him. Like, I'm invested in a relationship with this person, this friendship. I really care. I really care deeply about you and what you think about me and all that. So it was super interesting to see how hard it was, but also, again, safe. And I wouldn't get to a vulnerable place if I didn't feel like you have that masculine container where you can actually hold it. because that's one of my mechanisms that I'm not going to show that vulnerability unless I feel safe to do.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. How did you feel that, I guess, when I purposefully tried not responding to some of that stuff? Because I think there was a part of me that wanted to focus on the main objective, which was like actually not talking, which is interesting because like actually just developing the relationship through the eyes. So I appreciate you sharing, and I wanted to also work through that with you, but I didn't want to give it so much space where like that's where energy went. I wanted that to come up for you and for you to be able to express, but I also didn't want to fully engage in it because I wanted all the things to come up for you. Like I didn't want to participate in that. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I didn't want to give that energy. I wanted whatever was happening for you to just come up naturally. I didn't want to like play with it because I thought the second I played with it, it would add to that fire. And I wanted naturally whatever was coming up for you to happen. So how did you feel that I was like just taking it? I think a couple of times I was like, thank you for sharing. Or I didn't want to go any further.
Well,
how did that
like
feel?
when I think about it, I think there was an expectation for you to do something to get me out of that state, but it's at that moment I didn't feel like that's what I need, but I did notice that you're not giving me anything, and then there was a part that was still not sure if you're judging me or not, and that's okay. Like whatever needed to happen happened, and I know that if it was any different situation you would hold me through it. Yeah, so I guess part of me is thank you for not interfering, but another part of me wanted you to interfere.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've noticed that come up for me throughout the night. There were a couple times where I was meeting with people. It was like, if you only did this thing, or if you did this, then I would feel better. There was a time where we tried to match the breathing with that third partner, I think it was. And I was just like, if you just watched me, or if you breathed in this way, or you did this, I would feel more comfortable. Or the fourth session with the fourth partner. That was where you literally are telling them, hey, if you did
Giving
this,
them a gift, yeah.
giving them advice on like how it would
reflecting
work, them what would work better for me. That was just interesting too, because like you watch what goes through your head. Because I like what happened for me in that experience in the fourth session with the second woman. I was like, okay, give me advice on like how my sword of what is it called, sword of spine would come out, like how my divine masculine could be more perceptive to you at the moment. And she was telling me like a lot. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah, a lot of things.
What did she say?
I appreciated them, but the way I was sitting, I was like clenched with my hands and my arms, like I was holding tight. I was like really upright, so it felt like intense. It felt like I was like here, I'm present, but stressed. She was talking about like my head tilt. So like my head was up. I don't fully know the impact of that, but she asked me to bring it down, which I guess made her feel more comfortable. The type of breathing, like I was doing very like chest heavy breathing instead of diaphragmatic breathing. So it felt to her.
This was the girl we talked about yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it felt to her that this was like relatively shallow. So maybe like not super safe, or I don't know. Definitely felt like a different person. But in my head, two things happened. One is like, oh my God, I have a lot to work on. Or like, I can't believe there's all these things I need to change or fix to be okay. And then on the other, what I realized, like I was so grateful. I was like, wait a sec, this is fantastic feedback. We very rarely focus on what am I doing that's being perceived by others. And if someone actually reflecting that to you, it's like a very healthy, amazing thing. And I was so grateful for it. I think I was battling those two. Like one was like, oh my God, I've got to go to yoga. I was like, my traps are so tight. I'm so uncomfortable sitting this way. I'm not used to breathing this way. So I felt like I had to become a different person, but that was the message. That was the beauty of the message. It was, I do want to be another person. I would like that. And this woman who I also like over that time, I don't know her. I think you might know her actually. I don't know her. And I felt over that time like I trusted it. I felt like what she was telling me was like legit. I don't know. I think that's the space you get into with the eye gazing too. You just build up this sense of trust. Like I know what they're telling me is real. And so I found myself battling those two things all night. Like on the one hand, okay, there's a lot of stuff I need to work on and change. On the other, wow, I'm very grateful for that because you don't really get that anywhere else.
Yeah. And I get that experience can be, I know that also you came there like vulnerable. And then to add to it, like there's a bunch of things that you think you need to change. But I think that she just basically reflected to you on a physical level, body language and breathing wise, like how to step into more masculine, divine masculine. It's not necessarily all of this is fucked up, like I need to go do yoga. On the contrary, it's okay to step into this power, just be mindful of these things because you already have it within you. You don't really need to do yoga poses or whatever to release it. It's just dropping in a way. Maybe seeing those thoughts of, yeah, I need to go to yoga. I have so many things I need to change. See them and let them pass. So for me, it's okay, he's noticing my eye problem. Okay, this is probably a turn off for him. And then it's like, let it go. We're looking at each other's eyes. That's all there is here right now. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does make sense. And then again, for me, it comes down to the stories we tell ourselves, right? Because you go, and that makes you feel a certain way, right? So we're full circle here a little bit, but you're like, yeah, look in my eyes, and oh, maybe there's a problem, which is, I still don't like that terminology, but like maybe he's noticing something with my eye that he doesn't like, okay? But that's really because you don't like it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later, but let's just say he's thinking that, and you could tell yourself another story. You could tell yourself he's looking at me and maybe he thinks I'm really pretty. Maybe he's, even if he is noticing this thing, he thinks it's cute. He thinks it's different. He thinks it's unique. He thinks it's special.
Yeah.
Maybe he feels attracted to me because of it. Or maybe he's noticing other things about me. Maybe he thinks he loves my hair. He loves my body, whatever.
I just heard the most evil voice in my head ever. He was saying like, I'm gonna say this, okay? He was saying, if he likes junkie woman,
Chunky?
junkie, he likes that look of Brittany Murphy kind of stuff, then he's gonna the eye thing. But this is an example, like I have, sometimes these things come up and I'm like, oh, it's the mean voice, moving on. So even if I don't tell myself a different story, I actually tell myself a whole bunch of stories at the same time, because I have different parts feeling and thinking different things. Okay, there's this evil voice, but there's also a voice saying what you said. The guy that will want me will think it's charming. It will actually add to my sex appeal for them, etc., etc. And there's proof to that as well. You know what I mean? There is proof, a positive proof about it, right?
Yeah, listen, you're totally right. And this stuff, I think, what I love, that's the reason I love doing that in community sometimes. It's the hardest. It's definitely the hardest type of work. It's a lot easier doing this work on your own, but you can only get to a certain place. Like you plateau doing this on your own, because the beauty of the community is finding out like I'm not the only one dealing with this. To piggyback on that story, we had a couple women share last night that they went into, when someone was saying, when the first round was, tell me an area of relationship where you have strengths in, you feel good about, and then tell us areas of relationships where you need help in, or areas of improvement. And one woman shared at the end of that round, she goes, it was so much easier for me to find areas of improvement, or like places that I'm critical of myself, or like parts of relationship that I'm not good at. It's way harder for me to find parts of relationship that I excel at or that I feel good about. And so I think it's naturally humans, and a lot of us in this community tend to go to that side. And so this is part of the work, is wait a sec, there's a whole nother side to focus on, right? Like where your focus goes, your energy flows. What you put your attention to is what's going to grow. So like doing all the practices to realize I have a lot of strengths actually, and there's a lot of things that I can contribute. That was beautiful. And then another woman added, I think towards the end of the night in the fourth round, she goes, when the gentleman told me, or we talked about areas where I can improve my radiance of heart, so I can step more into my divine feminine. She goes, there was nothing about being a strong businesswoman or like caring, being super independent, or like taking care of myself. There was nothing there. I expected to be all these things. And like, he was just like, no, like it would be awesome if just I sense from you like a sense of safety and joy and kindness and sweetness and nurturing. And that would be enough to like step into her power. That was powerful for her, because I think society tells women there's a lot of mixed messages out there. You have to be a certain way, you have to look a certain way, you have to do a certain thing. And she had all these beliefs in her. So to have that be broken in community, it's like what you're talking about, is the stories and beliefs we tell ourselves. So one thing I want to ask you is, let's talk a little bit more about the dating experience, because you pulled, I think, a couple numbers. No. Just one? Okay, just one. How did that go? It sounds like you had a really good connection with this guy. It was the second round?
It was the last one.
Last one.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny enough, my second round was with one of my good friend's fiance that I never met until today. And I'm going to their wedding next month. And then all of a sudden we were like eye gazing. It was funny. But with this last guy, it was really interesting. He just sat with me and he looked at me and I looked at him to the left eye. And there was a certain click there. Like I really instantly felt safe because I struggled a little bit, so I looked away, and I looked at his reaction, and his body reaction was accommodating that. I'm looking away, looking back at him, half a smile, and then he's looking at me, and he's like, it's okay, but like with his body language. And I saw that I was nervous, and he was really accommodating it. And then I just could look into his eyes, and I just looked, and nothing came across my head. After I saw that he's very receptive and he can pick up the little cues, I was like in it. And then we needed to tell each other. And I told him that right now I don't see any criticism. Like, I feel safe. I feel like he's seeing my cues and he's letting me know safety, it's safe here. You can look away. I'll be here. I'll hold it for both of us. And it was really beautiful. And then he was like, for me to feel closer to you, I just need a hug. And I was like, okay. And then we hugged. And then I gave him my hand and we held hands. And then I shared with him that it feels good to hold his hand. And I feel like if he's gonna let go of my hand, it's gonna hurt me. And the more I'm looking at this person, the more sexual energy comes up. And the more playful it becomes. Like, we're smiling, we're laughing, he's literally asking me questions, trying to get to know me. And I noticed that he can't sit in quiet a lot. That was very interesting. But I got to express what I feel, what's going through me. And it was super interesting to see, because the minute we held hands and he applied some pressure on my hand. Like, he would talk and then he would squeeze my hand a little bit, and it felt like safety. I don't know how to explain this. It felt like he's with me in this moment and he's affirming it, but with touch. And then I realized how starving I am for that type of intimacy and touch. Like, God, I was willing to like go cuddle with this person. That's how it felt. It felt like I feel really close to him. I'm looking in his eyes, like I can easily progress this physically, no problem, because it feels safe. But then at some point I asked him, hey, what's your name? And then he was like, oh, you don't remember my name? And he had a whole thing about it, and I immediately felt unsafe. Because he pulled away, like his entire body language pulled away. And then I was like, please just tell me your name, I won't forget. He told me his name, and then I asked him, what is my name? And he forgot, like he was like, and he gave me the wrong name. And then a part of me was like, Rachel, red flag. Like, this person felt safe, but he basically accused you of not remembering, his name when he doesn't remember your name. And then when you didn't remember his name, he pulled back immediately, and like there was a whole act. Now, I understand it's just a part and it's being extreme, and he's, watch it, Rachel. Danger. So it was super interesting to see that, because my entire felt experience with this person was like of trust and like safety and connection and touch. But he did that, and immediately there was like red flag. And it's not a big deal. It can be flirtatious. Like, it can be just like, how do you not remember my name? We're eye gazing. So yeah, it came up and I looked at it and I sat with it and I was like, okay. And I realized, and that's something that I said in the beginning, that my biggest area of improvement, my last relationship was really abusive. So that question always sneaks on me, like, what could I have done differently? How could I have improved? Because, God, I did everything I could. I gave it my all. But I know that my next battle, right? Like you said, we can only do so much work on ourselves alone. Like, in community, when you step into community, there's more work. So it's the same with relationship. After a breakup, you do, let's say, 60% of the work to heal, but the remaining 40 will confront you in your next relationship. So there's always shit ton more work to do with actual partner. So what I got is that I have a thing with safety. On one hand, I really want to find my person and I want to lean in and become feminine and find like a masculine container where I can just lay my head on their chest and feel safe and give it all and trust. But on the other hand, I am so afraid of doing that because I don't feel safe. The littlest things make me like go to this mode of like red flag. So I think that my biggest thing to work on would be to allow and trust. And I feel like I do that, but there is like a wall and there is a lot of guard. And yeah, and it sucks. Needed. This part just said you need it. Like, we're keeping you safe. Like, we don't want you to get abused again. But it's gonna be something. Like, I would have to find someone that I can really believe them and trust them and put myself in it. And I know myself. I usually do that, and I prefer to play all out and get burned than to just be in something halfway. So this is super interesting how it comes up in such small instances, and it's coming up for me to look at and be with and love.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. I'm sure that resonates with so many people, honestly. And really, I feel like it's so much more normal than we think. This push-pull dynamic is really what that feels like. It's like I want connection, but I also need and want to feel safe. And in the beginning, we play these games a little bit with people. It's almost like a test. We're like testing them. Can they provide this safety? I want to connect, but can they? I want to connect, but can they? And, what's interesting is I don't know if that really ever goes away. There was a couple last night that they asked them like, hey, how long have you guys been together? It looked like they had like really cool, fresh energy. And so Michael asked them, the leader, he goes, hey, how long have you guys been together? They go, 10 years. And they were here at this intimacy workshop working on this thing. So for me, that was one of the biggest lessons of the night. It was like, I think you're always going to have this, I want to connect, but is it safe? I don't think that ever goes away. I think sometimes we get stuck looking for people who provide that unconditional safety, or we find a situation where it's, okay, this is always going to be good for me. It's like, that's unrealistic, I think, and I don't think that's the case. I think where the real search and where the real gold mine is finding the person in a situation that even though there may be times of this unsafety, for whatever reason, if they're causing it or it's coming from me or external circumstances, there's so many reasons for it. But even if there is this sense of, I don't know if I'm safe, can I find ways? Can I get to a place, and can we get to a place where we reconnect? Like, for me, that's the end goal. So that was one of my main learnings. And you had an experience with a gentleman. I felt definitely partially connected to this fourth session. It was way less romantical than that. But I think really neat takeaway from this event. I learned a lot. Sounds like you learned a lot. Anything else you want to share or talk about?
I'm going to share a little bit about safety.
Yeah.
I think that a part of being a woman in her masculine, it's because of safety. And for me, in my experience, I can keep myself safe. And then it comes to, examining if the man in front of me is safe for me and if he can keep me safe. And I think it's a dance, and it's about awareness. If I have awareness of safety and I know the red flags, for example, but if a step further would be, I have a part that keeps putting red flags on things, like how much of this is actually a red flag or it's just fear. And that's a big thing. And to add to it, yesterday I had a consultation call with a married couple. They're married for 40 years. And the husband came up with a board game for married people to help them connect. And I immediately, this is for my Amazon agency, right? My e-commerce work. And so I immediately was like, oh, snap. Why did the universe put me in a Zoom call with a married couple from Hawaii that the husband is a psychologist of 40 years? So I was like, hey, can I ask you a question? Yes. What is the secret to a happy marriage? What is your secret? What is the secret? And they basically said emotional safety. And that's what it is, to feel safe with your emotions, with your partner. That no matter what, you can come to your partner with what you're feeling and it's going to be safe. And it's hard, but it is what I'm looking for personally. I think as long as I can bring myself, my feelings, my emotions to my partner without being judged for it or just put down or whatever, and it will feel safe, then that's what I'm looking for. And in contrast, I was also sitting with a couple yesterday that their main issue is that. Their relationship is in shambles for that reason. No emotional safety. And I think Michael talked about it yesterday, right? He said that most of the couples he work with, what was it? Their problem is that lack of openness and intimacy. That's what, I'm not sure that's what he said, but something along those lines. Yeah, I think we all just want to feel emotionally safe, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. Like, I think some of that comes from us creating that for ourselves internally. Some of that's finding the partner that provides that for us. But yeah, I 100% agree with that. Actually, I'm happy you brought that up because that was the exact experience I had in my 4th session with the other woman. One of the feedback that I gave her was, and she did request the sword of the spine, but I was like, I have something else ready to go if you're open to it. She's like, yeah. So I was like, oh, here's a radiance of the heart suggestion. It was a way for her to step in her divine feminine, because for me, when I sat down, I just like, and I'm a reflector in human design, and I just generally am very good at attuning to people's energies. I can just feel what's happening in a room with the person. I'm just like, that's just how I work. I'm a mirror for people and for myself and for the world. So I sat down with her, and I was having a very difficult time like connecting. She was the only person I couldn't connect with. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand what she was feeling. Like, I didn't fully trust her in the beginning. I'm staring at her, but I'm just like, there's something missing. There's disconnect. And so my feedback for her was like, can you show me what you're feeling? Can you just show me? I don't know what you're feeling, and it's making me feel unsafe. And she immediately started crying. She like broke down, and it was like this sense of overwhelm. You could see it on her face, her body, her tears, everything. It was just like this overwhelm. And I offered her a hug. So we hugged, we did connect in that way. And what was so interesting is right after that happened, like for me, boom, I instantly felt connected to her. I was like, I told her like, thank you. This makes me feel more connected to you. Now I also want to just help you. I want you to feel safe and okay. And we weren't supposed to do this because we were not supposed to talk as much in the session, but I was like, I want to know what happened. Like, how was your day? Are you okay? How can I help?
Yeah, put your head here.
Yeah. And we had to stop that for a second, but I communicated a lot of that. And then she in turn turned back to me, and she was just like, my God, thank you. Like, now I feel so safe. And I told her it felt to me like some sort of defensive, protective mechanism, not showing what you were feeling. And she goes, yeah, there's a fear of judgment. There's a fear of, I don't want to come across in a certain way, or I'm not sure how this is going to be received. And she goes, when I did that for you and I showed you how I feel, like I felt safe. I didn't feel any judgment. I felt like you didn't care what I was feeling. It just, as long as you knew what I was feeling and that it was a safe space to do that, then I felt cared for and I felt safe. So I was like, yeah, I think that's really what we need. That's what the divine feminine needs from divine masculine. And I think divine masculine needs to know the truth. I think divine masculine needs to see the authenticity. And then if you're really in your divine masculine, you can provide that container, you can provide that safety.
That is so spot on. Yeah, but it requires one side to take the lead, even if it's the females, even if it's the woman, even if I need to be the first one to show vulnerability and cry or something. Yes, but it has to come from someone in order to start dropping down to that place. But yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter who starts it, but someone needs to start it. And I'm also just, that's how I work. I'm like, as a reflector and a Virgo, whatever, I'm just like, I'm so ready to be like, hey, here's what could help us. And I'll do it in a good way. Sometimes maybe not in a good way. I'm open to that. But I'm so ready to be like, hey, here's what we could do that could help us.
I feel that with you. Right. I feel like you're very much into your masculine when it comes to supporting, helping, suggesting, like just doing your part in a friendship, like in this business scenario type, and it's appreciated.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. Yeah, it was one experience. We learned a lot. I think it was really cool. I'm definitely game to go back. I can maybe invite some more people to kind of share it. And it's different kind of every time, right? Like sometimes they do certain things. I think mostly it's eye gazing and connecting like this, but there are other activities, I think, like men's circles and women's circles, and this kind of, and they lead these things externally to Kuya.
I really feel like that this is some of what I've been searching for in order to feel connected and to feel community and not to feel so isolated and alone. And it's bringing me back to actually what I need. And I realize how starving I am for it. And it was super cool to see the people that we met from a different healing squad thing. and just to step into that space knowing people. Like I also met someone there from the first time I went, and he was like, hi, and like all of a sudden you have people. Even if it's just for 2.5 hours in that room, you feel surrounded, you feel loved, you feel supported, and it's pretty amazing. Like I have tears coming up. Like I feel home. I feel like this is what I've been looking for. Oh my god. Like I've been looking for this type of sense, like feeling, and I'm really happy that I have you to do this with me, and that we're doing this, and that we're doing all of this. I'm just very grateful, and my heart is full.
Yeah, me too. We're still getting off some of the oxytocin from last night. But no, me too. I feel the same way. I'm glad we're doing this. And I think, how do you feel? Is that a wrap for episode 9?
Yeah, this is complete for me.
All right. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Talk next week.